John Newton, the Vice Chair of Cotswold Canals Trust, and somebody's been working on this project for way longer than I have.
It feels like it. Right, yes, I think I know most of you by sight, if not by name. John Newton, Vice Chair of Cotswold Canals Trust. We are co-leads on this current project phase 1B, it's the current restoration. We co-lead with Stroud District Council, Gloucestershire County Council, and Canal and River Trust. We're running late on the project, surprise, surprise. It was due to finish this year, would you believe, the end of this year, because we got the grant, the 10 million grant from the Heritage Fund in 2020, and they asked for projects to be completed within 5 years. However, due to COVID, due to planning issues, due to inflation, and due to water voles, which are a good thing, but bad if you're trying to plan works, but it's great we've got them. So we're in a position now where we think we may be able to open in 2029. Now that is quite a significant date because it's 250 years exactly to when the Stroud Water Navigation was first opened, 1779. One of the issues is obviously funding, but I'm pleased to say that the Heritage Fund are still with us. They're willing to give us more money. The partners are willing to give us more money, including Cotswold Canals Trust and Stroud Valley Canal Company. So we're reasonably confident that the whole programme will be able to go through that. So I'm going to hand on now to Chris first, and then I think we've got various people who are actually working on the ground. I spend too much time in meetings and on the computer. I wish I was on the ground sometimes. But I'll hand over to Chris now for the next part. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, John. Most of you know me. I'm Chris Mitford-Slade, the project director for this project. I am very optimistic about the next phase and securing the funding for that. But this talk is very much about what we're delivering at the moment, the progress we're making. And we are making some huge progress thanks to our great team of volunteers from Cotswold Canals Trust, Gloucestershire Wildlife Trust, Stroud Valleys Project, and our other partners as well. So this is very much an opportunity to share with you the work they're doing and really to appreciate their commitment, their expertise, their professionals, and their dedication to delivering this project, because this is a volunteer-led project. We would never be attempting this without the great volunteers we've got. So I'll hand over, first of all, to John Ponderfrat, who will talk about the work that's going on at Fromebridge and specifically Occupation Bridge and the towpath. So, John, take shore.
Thanks, Chris. Apologies for being a little bit sweaty. Stuart and I have hot-footed from here from working at John Robinson Lock, so I'll cover a little bit about that as well as Occupation Bridge and the towpath, because we are jumping around quite a bit in the areas we work. But essentially, we're trying to get Section 3, that's from the ocean down to John Robinson Lock, Westfield Bridge, finished, but also working over at Fromebridge. So if we have the first slide, please. So here we've got Occupation Bridge, and if any of you have been out there in the last few months, you'll have seen it encased in scaffolding. The scaffolding was necessary for us to do remedial work on the bridge. We have stitched together the arch. We've repaired cracks in the parapet. You can see the areas where the light mortar is, where the parapet has been repaired. And then once all that was tied together, we had, although we'd finished, we had to leave the scaffolding in place so that a specialist contractor could come in and replace the render underneath the arch, which you can see the light colour there. Done a superb job. We couldn't have done that we removed the old failed render and then left it for the specialist. We haven't finished there, but we've done all the work that needed the scaffolding. So work still to do includes the approach ramp here, which is really only necessary for people crossing over to go up to Whitminster, and/or the cattle that are grazing in the fields to get into the fields on the far side of the canal. We've got to regrade the slope slightly and put some more soil on the side of the embankment. Next slide, please. So the left-hand picture is indicative of some more work we've got to do on Occupation Bridge. You can see the crack stitching there on the parapet, that's completed. But where the concrete saddle that was added by others in the past meets the parapet, there's a rather scrappy sort of junction at the between the horizontal and the vertical, and there are cracks in it, and water can penetrate downwards. So we're going to have to seal that joint there. So the scaffolding came out. It's specialist scaffolding, and it was originally at Newtown Roving Bridge, which we repaired first. Then it went into Occupation Bridge. Now it's here at Westfield Bridge. And today was the first day we were able to work on it. So today's work was removing all the vegetation growing out of the various surfaces and assessing the areas for repair. But it had already been indicated by an engineering report, but we've just got to sort of work out how we access the areas and the work that we need to do. So again, it's going to be crack stitching of the parapet walls, a lot of repointing, and tying the face of the arch on either side into the barrel of the arch. For that we used 3 foot long 900 mil helical ties that go right the way through from the front face into the brickwork. So it looks a lot of scaffolding, and it is. There are 2 stories effectively to work on. It's no good if you're 6'3". It's built for 6-footers and under. But yeah, I clonked my head several times today, so it's definitely helmet territory. The next slide, please. So whilst we were there, I just thought I'd mention the work that we're doing at John Robinson Lock, effectively working on both sides of the entrance to the lock from the dock lock direction, so coming into the lock. The left-hand picture shows the wing wall, and you can see where we've stripped down and put new brickwork on top of the old brickwork to start bringing it up to height. There's about another 3 courses to go before we put the coping stones on. On the other side, the left-hand side, those of you that have been in the area will know that the Oldbury Brook was carved through there when they built the motorway, and they basically chewed away the corner of the lock. So you can see the extent of the remaining brickwork, new brickwork on there, cast stones. The paddle gear will be in this recess here, and it's basically a mirror image of the opposite side, the side that remained when they abandoned the canal. So that's coming along quite nicely. Next slide, please. Flip-flopping back to Fromebridge. Most of you won't have seen the new bird hide that looks out towards the scrapes in the fields there. I'm sure Peter Savage will cover those elements for you. But this is a view looking back from the area of the bird hide towards the A38, and it looks a little bit rough and ready. The canal, as you've probably seen, has been dredged through that area. The dredgings were all put on the side to drain down, and they've now been cleared, and that's what we're left with. So we've got to build a towpath, initially from the bird hide and the gate from where I'm standing, looking towards the A38, back to the A38, and a link path into the lane leading to Fromebridge Mill pub. Here you can see the pond that we've created, which is suitable for water vole relocation and other things. And we've got a fence along there as well. The whole idea is we have the canal running through. There's a temporary bund at the moment crossing over where the Harris fencing is, but we've got to provide the towpath as close to the edge of the canal as we can, and then a parallel fence to keep the cattle that graze the rest of the land off the towpath and off the canal banks, because they, quite frankly, trash the banks. So there'll be fencing along there. There will be fencing between the towpath and the pond, the watervole relocation pond, because we don't want dogs and other people going in the pond itself. We want to leave it sort of segregated to a certain degree. People will be able to see it, but they won't be able to go in it. I think that's it with my slides, yeah.
Yeah, just a couple of things to add to that. First of all, Occupation Bridge, all that work has been funded by the Association for Industrial Archaeology and also 2 family trusts. One of the family trusts, they're actually going to come down tomorrow afternoon. John, Duke, and myself, and are going to show them around and show them, what they've been able to fund. And it's thanks to all of our funders we've been able to do projects like this. So thanks very much. I also want to ask Rob Benson, our Chief Engineer, just to say a few words on the progress that's going on down at Fromebridge. We are creating a new reserve down there. We want to have it opened up by the end of August. Timelines are quite tight for that piece. And I just want Rob to say a few words about how that's going and what the next steps are going to be.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Rob Benson. I'm the Chief Engineer for CCT and also CCC, which is this sort of partnership that has been described earlier that's come together to restore the canal. Just in terms of the Fromebridge area, it's a fairly heavily congested area of work. We've obviously talked about Occupation Bridge, and John's talked you through how that's progressed and that we're nearly at the end of that. We've obviously, I think previously, and we've also seen some pictures of the water vole ponds that have been constructed, and we're now operational and ready to receive water voles and other wildlife. Interesting, the ponds are filled from the canal, but the canal is not yet at full water, which means it's not at its depth that it would be when it's finished in terms of navigation. So we're having to put in some temporary pipe work just to keep the pond and all the plants that are active within it alive, for want of a better word. As Chris said, really the challenge now is to get the hide open, and so we're committing to trying to get the hide open for mid-August. And for that, we've got to bring together the fencing, the towpath, we've got to finish the flood banks, and also some of you may have noticed that as you come out of Whitminster, where the 2 bridges were put in, there was effectively a very short, what we call the shortest section of pound between the 2 bridges, basically came to nothing, and there was like a clay, we call it a clay bund, but effectively on the west bank of the roundabout, there was a clay plug which we've now removed, and we've actually joined that pound all the way down now to Occupation Bridge, and effectively that then goes on right down to Lockham where we break into the river. So in terms of the short-term goals, we've got a lot of activity. John's described a lot of the work, but all that's got to be coordinated. Majority of it's being done by volunteers. So again, all that work needs to be planned. We need to make sure that all the way that we do this, and a big part of what I spend my time doing, is trying to make sure that what we actually design and what we construct is facilitated towards volunteers, so that the skill sets that they have and that we can use are within their capacity, and that we don't have to bring in specialists. And so I'll talk later about Oldbury Brook and perhaps how we've redesigned that to enable it to be what we call volunteer friendly. And obviously a colleague that's actively involved in the construction of that will give you a little bit more. But I think overall, we're making really good progress. We just need to plait the rope, and then hopefully we can open our bird hide in August.
Yep. Thank you, Rob. There was a question on the oil pipeline, and just want to say that our focus and priority is to get the new reserve opened by the end of August. We want this to be a showcase tonight, a new destination centre for people that brings people close to wildlife and to heritage and to the canal. And Pete will talk a little bit later about how that's progressing in the environment side. On the oil pipeline, that's part of the next phase. So once we've secured the funding, we have a programme of works that will then include the oil pipeline and all the other elements we need to reconnect to the Stroud, to the National Canal Network at Sewell Junction. So the oil pipeline is in the programme for next year, but we have some plans for that. But we very much want to focus around what we're doing for this year.